Opposition has moved a no confidence motion against Om Birla, who is Speaker of Lok Sabha. So in this particular video, we are going to discuss what is going to happen now and what is the process through which a Lok Sabha Speaker can be removed, and whether in India do we have any such previous cases where such motion has been successful. So first of all, to understand the background of this entire topic, if you look at here, why it was news, because recently the opposition, largely led by the Congress Party of India, it has moved a no confidence motion against the current Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. While moving this motion, opposition has alleged that the leader of opposition, basically, he was not allowed to quote from a book in the House. The book, as you know, was referred to by Rahul Gandhi, where he has talked about General M.M. Naravane's. It is unpublished memoir of General M.M. Naravane, and in this memoir he has talked about what actually happened in the 2020 when there is a clashes going on between China and India, such how government of India or what kind of decision government of India has taken and all that. So it has created a lot of furores, and also it was said that remarks regarding security concern in the House was raised, which is a genuine concern, but that was not allowed to proceed due to the interference by Speaker of the Lok Sabha. So motion was proposed as per the constitutional and procedural rules as enshrined in our constitution. Now, if you look at the constitutional basis of moving a no confidence motion, so it is governed under Article 94 of Constitution. It clearly talks about it, and it applies only to Lok Sabha, that is House of People. You know that in India we have bicameral system where we have Lok Sabha, that's the lower house, and where we have Rajya Sabha, that is the upper house. So in Rajya Sabha, such a motion cannot be introduced, as you know that the chairman of Rajya Sabha is the sitting vice president as such. So speaker or deputy speaker of Lok Sabha, these are the only two officials who can be removed by such motion. Resolution, however, once the motion is introduced, resolution for removal of speaker and deputy speaker must be then passed by majority of all the then members. Majority of all the then members means not only the members who are present and voting, but the entire strength of Lok Sabha has to be taken into account, and then only removal procedure can go. Now we have discussed Article 94, that is the constitutional article governing it. So what are the conditions mentioned as far as the vacancy is concerned to the seat of the Lok Sabha Speaker, or in the case of deputy speaker? So three conditions are given here. First, if the member of he ceases to be member of Lok Sabha due to certain reasons. Second, if he resigns in writing address to deputy speaker or speaker, it means if deputy speaker has to resign, he has to write resignation letter to the speaker, while if a speaker has to resign, he will do the same to deputy speaker. So either as if he loses or she loses the membership of Lok Sabha, he ceases to become remain the member of parliament, we can say overall, and is also last is removed by resolution passed by majority of all members, as we have discussed. Any of these three cases can lead to speaker or deputy speaker vacating offices. Now we know that as far as this particular steps are concerned, procedure is concerned, first of all, if you want opposition parties, if they want to bring no confidence motion in the Lok Sabha, they have to write a notice to the Secretary General of Lok Sabha. Now, while writing this notice, two things has to be done. First of all, a single individual member of Lok Sabha cannot go and present this notice. There has to be at least two members who are supporting this. Second, it is mandatory that before moving this resolution about no confidence motion, 14 days notice should be given, and the days for motion is fixed after the expiry of 14 days. If these conditions are met, then only we can move further. Now, if you look at the admission of motion, motion is listed in the list of business that is going to be taken on a particular day when it has to be discussed, and for that leave of house is required. A notice, just because the two members have given the notice, they cannot simply be discussed in parliament, they cannot be discussed simply in the Lok Sabha as such. It requires the leave of the house. Now, how leave of house is taken? So to support this notice, at least 50 members must rise. If the 50 members, which is also considered as a quorum for this particular purposes, if 50 members of the Lok Sabha at least rises in support of notice, then only leave of house is deemed to be required, and then further the progress on this or discussion on this can proceed. If less than 50 people, 50 members are rising, in that case motion is rejected there and then. No further discussion on the no confidence motion can take place. Now imagine that 50 plus members have supported this resolution, they have risen in the support of this. In that case, leave is granted, and then further the speaker or deputy speaker can decide that the resolution will be scheduled within the 10 days since the day leave has been granted. then discussion is confined strictly to charges mentioned here, because when no confidence motion is passed, opposition has to clearly mention what are the grounds, what are the grievances, what is something we can say the steps that has been taken by speaker or deputy speaker. If it's something that does not aligns with the constitutional, we can say constitutional this goals and all, in that case member moving motion is allowed to speak, and maximum he can speak is up to 15 minutes, etc. Now once discussion has taken place, there is a requirement for voting. It is only after voting the speaker and deputy speaker will stand removed as such. So whenever voting is being done, it is to be ensured that majority of all the then members you have for this particular voting, not just majority of those present in voting. We have discussed in the beginning itself. For example, if you have the 545 members in the Lok Sabha, 550 members in Lok Sabha, so majority of that strength will be considered here for the removal process as such. And after that, as we can see, because this is a no confidence motion, this clearly shows the House has lost confidence in the ability of Lok Sabha speaker or deputy speaker to discharge duties impartially or with constitutional provisions and such, and that is why it has higher threshold than ordinary resolutions to be passed as such, because majority of all the then members is required. Now the question is, do we have any past instances where such motion is introduced in Lok Sabha, and what happened to that? So we have three such incidences. No confidence motion till now in Indian Lok Sabha has basically been moved against three speakers. One was year 1954, where you have G.V. Mavlankar. G.V. Mavlankar was the first speaker of Lok Sabha. So motion was introduced against him, but the motion was defeated. 1966, the motion, no confidence motion, was introduced against Hukam Singh. And then in 1987, it was introduced against the then Speaker of Lok Sabha, Balram Jakha. However, in all of these three cases, they were not removed from office because the voting was not to extent that where more than, you can say, majority of Lok Sabha were willing to do so. So because of the lack of vote, the no confidence motion simply failed. And this is understandable, because when we talk about the strength of Lok Sabha, in most of cases, it is the ruling party which has majority, and the speaker is largely elected by the consensus of ruling party itself. So that's why unless and until ruling party itself is in favor of removing the speaker or removing deputy speaker, it becomes quite a Herculean task by opposition members to come and remove it. And so that's might also be fate in this case as well, because you know that the BJP and its allies command majority as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned. Now restrictions and guidelines is also published under the rule 200A. In the case of resolution, it must be specific and clearly expressed. We have discussed at least two members have to write the resolution and present it to the Secretary General. So it cannot be very simple or general in nature. It has to be specific, that what kind of grievances they have against the speaker, clearly expressed. Second, it should not contain arguments or any kind of defamatory statement against the chairperson. Third, confine discussion strictly to charges. Whenever the motion is being discussed, when in the Lok Sabha as such, the discussion has to be strictly related to the charges which is framed in the notice. Nothing can be discussed which is not presented in notice as such. No speeches immediately after notice admission. We have discussed 10 days of time is largely given. Now, as far as the role of speaker himself is concerned, if no confidence motion is being discussed in parliament, in that case he has right to speak and participate. He can present his point of view also, and he can vote only in the first instance when the general voting is taking place. In the case of tie, however, he cannot put a tiebreaker vote. So this is a very important point you have to keep in mind. Can vote in first instance but cannot vote in the case of tie. And he continues to serve in office after dissolution until first meeting of new house as such. So these are the roles clearly mentioned as far as the speaker's role in this case is concerned. Now again, we have discussed the no confidence motion in this particular case is largely a show of dissatisfaction with the way how speakers have conducted the house, and what leader of opposition and the opposition party member, largely led by Congress, believe was not right as such. But it does not simply mean that just because no confidence motion is introduced, now a speaker will stand removed. It has to go through a lengthy conversion process, and as we can see from our past instances also, and given the commanding majority the BJP and allies have, it is almost impossible that Lok Sabha speaker can be removed as such. So that's all for this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with aspirants, as well as subscribe to the channel for more such content. Thank you very much.